you would take your note sheet and flip it over. Now, if you would take your note sheet and flip it over.
Today,
we're going to think about how can you get the variable by itself.
Today,
well, if we multiply
how can you get the
variable by itself, we get C. Very similar to adding 0. We have multiplying by 1. Very similar to adding 0.
By itself. You get the number.
We have multiplying by 1
itself.
It keeps the variable by itself.
C times
number.
C.
D times 1 would be D.
C times
and of course,
C.
R times 1 would be D.
Would
And
just
of
be
course, R
Keep that in
times
mind.
1. If we can create a 1,
Just be R.
multiply
So
by
keep
the
that in
variable,
mind.
we get the variable
If we
by
can create a
itself.
1,
Multiply by the variable, we
So
get
in
the
the next
variable by
slide,
itself. If I take a number that's multiplied by
So in the
C
next
and
slide,
divide it by that same
if
number,
I take a number that's
multiplied
multiplied
by
by
1
C
and what's
and
divide
divide
it
it
by
C?
that same number,
C.
you create a 1, and what's 1
Any
times
number
C?
divided by itself.
So here we have R. It's being multiplied by
Any number
negative
divided
10.
by itself.
Here
If
we
we
have
divide
R.
it by that same
It's
number,
being multiplied by
we get a
negative 10.
positive 1. And
If we
1
divide it by
times
that
R,
same number, we get a
is R.
positive 1, and 1 times R.
Here we have the variable being divided
R.
by 3.4.
Here we
So
have
if
the
we
variable
multiply
being
by
divided by
3.4,
3.4.
these cancel out to
So
be
if we
1s.
multiply by 3.4,
And D times 1 is
these
just
cancel out to be
D.
1s, and D
So here we
times
use
1 is
the idea
just
of
inverse
D.
operations. So here we use the idea of
If you look down
inverse
to one
operations.
slide,
It says here at this arrow, we can use,
If you look down to one slide,
inverse. It says here at this arrow, we can use
operations,
inverse to get rid of the other operation.
operations,
In other words, multiplication
to get rid
is
of the other
inverse of
operation.
division. In other words, multiplication is inverse of division, and division is the inverse of, and division
Multiplication.
is the inverse of.
multiplication.
So back to this slide here. This is just the inverse
So
operation.
back to this
Multiplying
slide
by
here.
4 and divided
This
by
is just
4,
the
they
inverse
cancel out.
C's
Operations,
by
but multiplying
itself.
by 4 and divided by
Same
4,
with over
they
here,
cancel
dividing
out.
by
C's
3.4
by
and
itself.
multiplying by 3.4.
Same with over here, dividing
Cancel
by
out
3.4 and
you get D
multiplying by
itself.
3.4. Cancel
Now,
out. These two problems.
You get D by itself.
We're multiplying. Now, these two problems.
By reciprocals.
We're multiplying. And when you multiply by
reciprocals.
the reciprocals,
And
when
the
you multiply by
numerators and
reciprocals,
denominators
can simplify
the
to be
reciprocals,
1.
the numerators
And
and
1
denominators
times 1
can
is 1, and 1
simplify to
times
be
1
n
is
just n.
And 1 times 1 is 1,
So
and 1
anytime
times
you
n is
multiply by a
just n.
reciprocal,
So anytime you
actually get a
multiply
1 by a reciprocal,
and
you
1
actually
times
get a
n,
1,
or whatever variable it is, would be by
and
itself.
1 times n,
or whatever variable it is, would be by itself. So back to this slide here. So another option is, instead of using inverse
So back to this slide
operations,
here.
so another
we can
option
use
is what we call
instead of using
multiplicative
inverse
operations,
operations,
known
we can
as
use
what we
we've
call
talked about
multiplicative
these
inverses, known as,
reciprocals.
and we've talked about these before, to create
reciprocals.
a 1. To create,
And when you create a 1 and you
a
multiply by 1,
1. And when you create a 1 and you multiply by 1, you get a variable that's by itself.